New York City was as chaotic and vibrant as ever in the early morning hours. The honking of taxicabs, the hurried footsteps of businessmen, and the distant sounds of street musicians blended together, forming the never-ending rhythm of the city. The glass windows of towering skyscrapers gleamed with the first light of dawn, yet the crisp winter air carried an unmistakable chill. Donald Trump, wearing a long black coat, walked alone through the city streets. Despite his fame and fortune, he occasionally enjoyed moments of solitude, blending into the morning crowd. He had built his life in this city, and sometimes he liked to step away from the boardrooms and television screens to feel its pulse up close. As he approached one of the city's oldest bridges, something caught his eye. Sitting on a worn-out bench near the bridge was an old man, wrapped in a tattered coat, his hands red from the cold. Beside him lay a battered backpack, covered in dirt and years of wear. In front of him, a cardboard sign rested against his feet. The words, written in shaky letters, read, "War Veteran, please show respect." Trump slowed his steps. He had walked through these streets countless times, seen many people in need, but something about this man was different. His posture, the deep lines on his face, the look in his eyes. This was not just a homeless man. This was someone who had once stood tall, who had given everything, but had somehow been left behind. With quiet determination, Trump approached the bench and sat down beside him. The old man didn't react at first, his gaze fixed on the ground. Trump didn't speak immediately either. After a moment, he finally broke the silence. "Good morning, my friend," he said in a calm but firm voice. "How's your day going?" The man lifted his head slightly, squinting as he recognized the voice. His expression didn't change. There was no excitement, no shock, just a quiet acceptance of yet another moment in his long, difficult life. "Today is no different than any other day," he replied, his voice low and weathered. Trump could hear the years of struggle in his tone. "What's your name?" he asked. The man exhaled slowly before answering. "My name is Frank Miller." Trump nodded. "Nice to meet you, Frank. It's pretty cold out here. Have you been here long?" Frank stared at the river beyond the bridge. "A long time," he said softly. "But people don't notice. In a city like this, you're just another shadow." Trump looked around. He realized that no one was paying attention to them. People were rushing to work, lost in their routines, completely unaware of the conversation happening on the bench. "Frank," Trump said, shifting slightly to face him, "how did you end up here? Were you really in the military?" Frank nodded slowly. "Yeah, I served my country with pride. I wore the uniform, stood tall, and believed I was helping build a better future. But when I came back, everything was different." Trump remained silent, letting him speak. "They remembered me on the battlefield," Frank continued, "but once I was home, it was like I never existed." His voice carried a bitterness that Trump recognized as frustration that only those who had truly struggled could understand. "What happened?" Trump asked. Frank rubbed his hands together for warmth. "Everything fell apart, my family, my job, gone. People always say, we support our veterans. But the truth is, most of us are forgotten." Trump took a deep breath. America was strong, but it wasn't always kind to the people who had built that strength. "Did you try asking for help?" Trump asked. Frank let out a hollow chuckle. "Oh yeah, a few times. But the system is complicated, full of paperwork, bureaucracy. They tell you to wait, but life doesn't wait. So I came here. At least on these streets, I know what to expect." For a while, neither man spoke. The world around them kept moving, but in that moment, time seemed to stand still. Trump reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a small business card. He handed it to Frank. "Take this, Frank. If you ever really want to get back on your feet, call this number. One of my people will help you." Frank stared at the card in his hand. It was light, yet it felt heavier than anything he had held in years. Trump stood up, adjusting his coat. Frank looked up at him. "Men like you should never be forgotten," Trump said. Because forgetting men like you means forgetting who we are as a nation. This country is strong because of people like you, and I'll make sure it doesn't forget." For the first time in a long while, there was a flicker of something in Frank's eyescope. Trump nodded once more and walked away. But deep down, he knew this story wasn't over yet. The days that followed and the true meaning of respect. A few weeks later, businessman Donald Trump extends a helping hand to homeless war veteran Frank Miller. Miller now has a place to live and a fresh start. Trump read the article, his face unreadable. Then, a small, satisfied smile crossed his lips. Sometimes the biggest changes start with a simple conversation. And on that day, Frank Miller was no longer just a shadow in the crowd. At Beyond the Portraits, we bring you powerful, untold, and inspiring stories about the world's most famous figures. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like this video to support more amazing content. Subscribe to Beyond the Portraits for more inspiring and thought-provoking stories. Turn on the notification bell so you never miss our next incredible story. Share this video with your friends and family because sometimes all it takes is a single moment to change a life. Stay inspired, and we'll see you in the next story.